Commonwealth Press, Your Honor.
Defense may call the first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. This time the defense would like to call Dr. Rye Haight to the stand. May I proceed? Please state your name for the benefit of the court.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Rye Haight.
Dr. Haight, what is your relationship to the case at hand today?
I'm an experienced professional on various types of pain brought in by the defense today to comment on today's proceedings.
Can you describe some of your academic as well as professional credentials?
Sure thing. First of all, I went to Harvard University, where I got my bachelor's degree in integral biology. After that, I went to the University of Pennsylvania, where I obtained my PhD in neurobiology. And after that, in life, I was gifted with two really great opportunities. One of which was a residency and internship at the Calvin School of Medicine. And secondly, I was gifted with a chair position on the Calvin School of Medicine board. And ever since then, I've been on the board, writing papers, doing lectures, and mainly focusing on pain and neurobiology.
Dr. Haight, did you reach any conclusions in today's case?
Yes, sir, I have.
And can you describe the facts and data you used to formulate your conclusion?
Firstly, I used all exhibits relevant to Hadley McAdoo's death, as well as all testimony that is relevant to her death. Secondly, I used my personal education to come to a conclusion, as well as my experience after about roughly 30 years in the medical field.
Your Honor, at this time the defense would like to move to enter Dr. Rye Haight as an expert in the fields of neurology and pain management.
Objection, Your Honor.
Dr. Haight, how would you define the best practice?
I would personally define a best practice as similar to something that I run. I hold myself at very high standards, so I would go above and beyond for my patients, doing all legal requirements, making sure that I break down every wall to give them the best possible practice.
So how would you define a proper practice?
In the industry, we would describe a proper practice as what your normal doctor runs. They're doing all legal requirements, doing everything that is FDA approved, and what they have to do to keep the doors open. I would personally say a responsible and proper practice was one that Dr. Ray Schaefer was doing.
So Dr. Haight, let's talk about pain specifically. Why is pain so difficult to treat?
The ambiguity of pain makes it almost impossible to treat. One would say that those who treat pain are fools or crooks, but as a doctor, when you have a patient sitting in front of you, weeping from an unidentifiable source, it tends to pick you apart.
Can you describe the difficulty in the case of Hadley McAdoo?
Hadley McAdoo presented pain away with a challenge. Hadley McAdoo was suffering from a neuropathical pain, or what we like to call in the industry a phantom pain. Now, this is a pain that we know is very real, but we can't come down to an exact definition of what the pain is or where it's coming from. But we know it is serious, and we have to take action.
How was Hadley McAdoo's pain treated?
Initially, Hadley McAdoo was treated with lidocaine and acupuncture injections, but plain and simply, that didn't work. Dr. Ray Schaefer decided to take a next step with medications, and these medications were opioids, which are very powerful, but when used properly, they can be very effective.
How do you know this information?
Well, personally, in my investigation, I reviewed the prescription drug monitoring report, and this is where I found the prescriptions that Hadley McAdoo was on.
What is a PDMP, or prescription drug monitoring report?
Well, it is the Department of Health's basically like a sheet that keeps all of the medications that doctors are prescribing to their patients.
Your Honor, at this time I would like to approach the witness with what has been previously marked as Exhibit 11.
May.
Let the record reflect, I will be showing the copy I will be referencing to opposing counsel. Would you guys like a copy?
I have.
All right, here's the copy I'll be showing the witness. Your Honor, do you have a copy?
Thank you, sir.
I believe Exhibit 11 has already been entered into evidence. Dr. Haight, what intrigues you about this PDMP report?
Well, first the way I see, and this is really shocking to me, that there are 3 different doctors prescribing 3 different medications, and these medications are all being filled at 3 different locations.
3 doctors, 3 medications, and 3 pharmacies? Dr. Haight, does this concern you at all?
Yes, it does. And the main thing that sticks out to me is Dr. Margaret Hamburg. Dr. Margaret Hamburg was prescribing Xanax, diazepine, and I see that benzodiazepines and an opioid on the sheet, and everybody knows as a doctor that that's a deadly mix. And Margaret Hamburg is stipulated today to be practicing under a responsible and proper practice, but this simply doesn't prove it.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examine.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Professor Hayes, this is not your first time giving your opinion in regards to pain treatment or drugs, correct?
No, it is not.
In fact, in around 2015, you gave a testimony, and it was titled, "Ending the Opioid Epidemic in Pennsylvania."
Yes, I did.
And then you also gave a testimony, it was titled, "Your Medicine Cabinet, a Box of Death," correct?
Yes, I did.
However, in 2016, you became sponsored by Purdue Pharmaceuticals, correct?
Yes, multiple companies usually sponsor my lectures and talks to the medical boards.
Yes, and then the tone of your presentations then changed a bit. Now it's saying that opioids were being maligned unfairly.
Well, personally, my opinions and beliefs are that opioids should be used properly, and I'm all for the proper use of opioids. Anybody should be if they're helpful to you. But when opioids are used improperly and abused, everybody should be against that. Why should you abuse something that's not going to be good for you? So I give my opinion on what I believe as a medical professional is proper for the community, and I give my opinion on what is improper for the community. Now, abusing opioids will be improper for the community, and using opioids properly is good for the community.
But the truth is that your opinion went from believing that a medicine cabinet was a box of death to then believing that opioids were being unfairly criticized.
Like I said, I give my opinion on what I think is proper for the community. My opinion was not swayed by anything. I've merely done research myself and seen that when opioids are prescribed and used responsibly and
Professor,
properly.
back to my question. You went from talking about a medicine cabinet being a box of death to saying opioids are being
Objection, Your Honor.
criticized unfairly, correct?
My witness is entitled to a response. He was answering the question.
Your Honor, if I may, this witness is entitled to a brief response, and we are under a strict time limit. I believe that this witness's responses have not been very brief.
Ever met a doctor who was brief? Point being, I understand the time limits of and the question was, you went from one thing to another, is that right?
Yes.
Which is a yes or no question. And should you wish to recross them on why?
I just ask that that opposing counsel does not keep late two speeches. One clearly meant that the dangers of a medicine cabinet are for your children and other family members, not the person.
Like I
being
say, you
used.
can clear that up if you want on redirect.
Now, Dr. Hamburg is no, you testified being concerned to, about Margaret Hamburg's, prescription, haven't you?
Yes, I did testify to
However,
this.
Margaret Hamburg is not being tried today.
So, yes, this was because she was cleared of all wrongdoing.
Yes, instead Dr. Schaefer is.
Unfortunately, even though the evidence points in both directions,
You said you were testifying in defense of Dr. Schaefer, correct?
I am testifying in defense of the medical field.
Well, you're also receiving pay from a third party, correct?
As would any expert brought in by the defense to comment on their proceedings. This is standard practice.
Would it be safe to say that your stance on drugs rather flip-flops depending on who's paying you?
My stance on drugs flip-flops depending on whether it's good for the community or bad for the community. As a medical professional, I find it insulting that one would say that any amount of money could sway my opinion.
Now, however, when you were looking into Dr. Schaefer's practice, you were horrified, weren't you?
Can you be more specific what I was horrified of?
Well, are you familiar with the CDC guidelines?
Yes, I am.
And you're aware that the first one said, well, actually number 11 says not to prescribe concurrent drugs.
Yes, it does.
And however, Coach was being prescribed concurrent drugs for about 3 months.
This is a recommendation, and Dr. Schaefer saw that the way that she was prescribing drugs was the best for her patient, and she was trying to tackle the pain problems that her patient was having.
However, in your opinion, when you saw Dr. Schaefer's practices, you were horrified.
There's some things I would change, but I wouldn't say that she was doing anything that was illegal. She was doing everything that she could to have the best practice and
Your Honor, if
best
I'm made
patient.
to object to this witness cannot testify to whether something is illegal or legal. They do not have any kind of background is in regards to any legal matters. They cannot testify to that.
Go ahead.
As an expert in the fields of pain management and neurology, this witness knows the basic function of a pain management clinic as he owns his own. So he would know what he's legally held accountable to do at his own clinic, therefore could transfer that expertise into today's trial.
Okay, but there's been testimony that the Dr. Schaefer, has not done anything illegal, is that right? Not accused of doing anything illegal.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So we've covered that. Go ahead.
Now, you gave an opinion based on Dr. Schaefer's practice, correct?
I gave an opinion based off my investigation, which was on Dr. Schaefer's practice, yes.
However, Dr. Schaefer's practice in general is not being in question today, correct?
Dr. Schaefer's practice is one of the reasons why we are here today. We are here to determine if Dr. Schaefer was acting in practice.
Yes, well, this, most specifically, it is on December 16th of 2016, correct?
Yes, it is.
And it is based on how Dr. Schaefer acted on that specific day, correct?
Yes, as well as her general practice.
And but you did not give an opinion based on the specific day on how she acted on December 16th, correct?
The opinion from my investigation was on the overall practice, which entitled December 16th.
I don't know if there's a question.
Redirect.
Briefly, Your Honor. Dr. Haight, is your compensation today contingent on your testimony?
No, it's not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Let me cross you off.
Thank you, Your Honor.
call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Sal Abbott to the stand. Your Honor, may I proceed? Please state your name and occupation for the benefit of the court.
My name is Sal Abbott, and I am a certified public accountant.
And Ms. Abbott, what is your relation to the case at hand today?
I was a patient of Dr. Schaefer's. I got into a skiing accident, and then my good friend J.J. Taba referred me to Dr. Schaefer.
And as a patient and accountant at Painaway, can you tell us how Painaway developed as a company?
When I first started accounting for Painaway, it was a small business, but it just kept growing and growing as Dr. Schaefer's reputation increased. She was even able to get a mortgage for a new facility down by the river. Unfortunately, this didn't last long.
What caused this?
Well, part of that was my fault. See, I was only the de facto accountant for Painaway, but I should have realized that the insurance didn't cover floods. It was an honest mistake.
And Ms. Abbott, can you tell us how Painaway moved past these obstacles?
Well, Dr. Schaefer was able to move back to Wissowee and take on a more local clientele, which was, in a way, a good thing because Wissowee was a blue-collar town.
And Ms. Abbott, are you aware of any other patients that Dr. Schaefer saw?
Yeah, my good friend J.J. Tava, who referred me to Dr. Schaefer, was also a patient at Painaway. See, J.J. had an arm injury, but was back on the courts in no time. When I saw how well Dr. Schaefer worked for both me and JJ, I recommended Coach Hadley McAdoo to Painaway.
And what did you observe about Hadley McAdoo that suggested that she needed treatment?
Well, I've known Coach McAdoo for years, and she's always been on the brink of pain. Like in 2002, she ran the sidelines of a basketball game with a torn ACL. By 2013, the pain really seemed to be getting to her, and I was desperate to find her good help.
And do you know if Coach Hadley McAdoo saw any other doctors prior to Dr. Schaefer?
Unfortunately, yes. I often saw Coach on the east side of town where she would have been seeing Dr. LeFou Harrison. I myself was not a big fan of Dr. Harrison.
Can you tell us how Coach's condition developed after seeing Dr. Schaefer?
After Coach McAdoo began seeing Dr. Schaefer, she became more like herself again. For every one bad day that she had at least 3 good days. At least 75% of the time, Coach McAdoo was in better spirits.
Objection, Your Honor. Improper opinion and speculation, if I may elaborate.
Go ahead.
I don't see how this witness can testify to a specific percentage as to how many 75% of her good days, 3 bad days. I don't see how these statistics can be provided from this lay witness.
Your Honor, these are not specific statistics. This is a manner of speech that my witness was using to reference how well the treatment was going for Coach Hadley McAdoo and how she appeared to be benefiting from this treatment.
Okay, so your testimony is times you saw her, is that,
It's what I observed from her.
you see her every day,
I saw her often,
every day?
almost.
And roll it out, go ahead.
And did this condition continue?
Unfortunately, no. A few days prior to Coach's death, I took her home from a pharmacy visit. I went inside, and when I went inside, there were pill bottles all over the place, and most of them, if not all of them, were empty.
Can you tell if all these pill bottles were from Dr. Schaefer?
From what I saw, they were from a plethora of different doctors. I realized that Dr. Schaefer wasn't the only doctor prescribing Coach McAdoo with opioids.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor, but before I proceed, I was wondering if we could get a time check for the prosecution official.
I'm advised that that will be appropriate after this witness has completed her testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to proceed? Ms. Abbott, you were friends with Coach, right?
Yes, I was.
And as you stated on your draft, when you became aware that Coach was seeing Dr. LaFou Harrison at first for her pain, correct?
I often saw her in the east side of town where she would be seeing Dr. LaFou, yes.
And this concerned you, didn't it?
Yes, it did. I didn't think that Dr. Harrison was good for Coach McAdoo.
In fact, this disturbed you because you were under the impression that she was the loosest doctor in town, correct?
I had that impression, yes.
In fact, you were also under the impression that when you had your ski injury, that if you went to Dr. LaFou Harrison, she would give opioids on the first visit, correct?
I heard a rumor about that, yes, which is why I didn't put my full trust in Dr. Harrison.
Now, but you weren't aware that on Coach's first visit to Dr. Schaefer, that she was prescribed opioids on the first visit as a placebo, were you?
Objection, Your Honor, this outside the scope of my witness. My witness has no medical knowledge of the treatment of Coach Hadley McAdoo and cannot testify whether she received opioids on the first day of treatment.
Your Honor, if I may. This is a fair extrapolation of this witness. I'm simply asking if she was or was not aware of this. I'm not asking if she knew it, I'm just asking if she was or was not aware.
Okay, we'll allow that question.
Let me repeat my question for you, Ms. Abbott. You weren't aware that on Coach's first visit to Dr. Schaefer,
That's, you're allowed to ask her if she knows.
Yeah.
You can't put a fact into your question.
Ms. Schaefer, were you aware that on Coach's first visit to Dr. Schaefer?
No, you cannot say what happened on the first visit. You can ask her if she knows what happened on the first visit. Yes or no?
Ms. Abbott, were you aware of what happened on her first visit?
Not fully aware, but I trusted Dr. Schaefer with Coach.
But you were aware that Coach continued to see Dr. Schaefer, correct?
Yes, that's what I felt was best for Coach McAdoo. I trusted Dr. Schaefer with Coach.
Do you recall saying in your sworn statement that if you were to do this all again, you wouldn't change a thing with referring Coach to Dr. Schaefer?
Yes, I did say that because I believe that even though Dr. Schaefer is my friend, Coach McAdoo has been my friend much longer, and I just wanted what was best for her, and that just happened to be Dr. Schaefer.
That's because you have no regrets, do you, Ms. Abbott?
No, I wouldn't say that I do because I really did trust Dr. Schaefer with Coach.
Thank you, Ms. Abbott. No further questions, Your Honor.
You redirect?
None, Your Honor.
Let me step down. Can you make your time?
Yes, Your Honor.
The prosecution has 4 minutes and 15 seconds left, and the defense has 5 minutes and 37 seconds. Thank you. Hold on. Some lawyers aren't good at math. Yeah, 5 minutes and 37 seconds.
Call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the defense calls Dr. Ray Schaefer to the stand. Please introduce yourself for the benefit of the court.
My name is Ray Schaefer, and I'm a doctor.
What kind of doctor are you?
I am a medical doctor. I specialize in pain management. I use holistic methods such as herbal remedies, I believe in treating the whole patient and not just the pain. Sometimes I use opioids when needed.
And how is your practice going?
My practice was going really well. We had a lot of patients and even some celebrities coming in.
Did you run into any trouble?
Unfortunately, when Superstorm Sandy hit, my practice was wiped out and I had to file for bankruptcy.
Dr. Schaefer, was this the end of Pain Away?
Luckily, no. About a year later, I was able to reopen my practice.
And what was your new practice like?
Well, I was dealing with different patients. This time it was a lot more blue-collar workers with chronic pain, and that's why my opioid percentages went up.
Dr. Schaefer, why did you decide to start using opioids in your course of business?
Well, because I was working with blue-collar workers, with different patients comes different needs.
And what role did nurse practitioner Fran Kelsey have in your practice?
Fran Kelsey was to check the PDMP report and also meet with the patients before I would. She would fill out a report and let me know what was going on so then I could decide how to proceed with the patient.
Could you tell us about one of your patients, Coach Hadley McAdoo?
Sure. Hadley came to us in 2014 complaining of shoulder pain. We sent her for x-rays and CT scans only to find out there was no identifiable cause for her pain. This is what we call phantom pain, which is a very real pain. It's much like if an amputee who maybe lost their leg was feeling a pain there that wasn't there.
So how did you treat Coach's phantom pain?
Well, this was a little bit harder to tackle, but we started with acupuncture and lidocaine, and then I gave her a low script for a mild opioid.
Could you tell us what happened on December 16th?
On December 16th, Coach came in excruciating pain. She was sweating, shaking, pulling out her own hair.
Did you review the intake form on this day?
I scanned the intake form, but Fran Kelsey pulled it out of my hands, and with this being an emergency situation that it was, I just had to act.
So what did you do about Coach's condition?
Well, I had sent Fran to find something in our vault to treat Hadley with, but with her pain being so excruciating, I had a legal FDA-approved dosage of hydromorphone in the room with me, and I administered that to Hadley, and she calmed down immediately.
What happened to Coach McAdoo that day?
Well, when she left my office, she seemed to be back to her normal self. She seemed to be feeling better, but unfortunately, I found out that she died that night of a negative drug interaction after taking Xanax.
Dr. Schaefer, were you following correct procedures?
Yes, I was using proper practice, doing what was required of me, and following the recommendations.
Would you have done anything differently?
This is a terrible tragedy, but with the information I had at the time, I would have practiced the same.
Thank you. No further questions, Your